السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Let me just say first and foremost that I am honored to be here. As a graduate of the Islamic University of Medina, to see someone who also tread the same path of going to a university there in Saudi Arabia, to come back to America and to establish an institution whereby they are now teaching Muslims in America the Qur'an, teaching Muslims in America Islam. This is the goal. This is what is expected of every student that leaves here to go overseas and study Islam. Not to come back and create fitna, not to come back and create separation, fragmentation of the ummah, with all of what we are already experiencing here in this environment. This is what is expected of students in the university. The university was established to teach people who come from environments like this to come back home and to teach Islam and to spread Islam. So I'm going to speak with you briefly, inshallah, about 15-20 minutes, inshallah. And then we're going to do what we all came here to do tonight. The Prophet ﷺ, he described the Muslim community as one body. If you pay attention to his metaphors, they had very deep meanings. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, مثل المسلمين في توادهم وتراحمهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد الواحد. He said, the example of the Muslims and their love for one another, their compassion and their understanding for one another, towards one another, is like one body. And when you think about a body and all of the different aspects that make up the human body, there are internal components, and then there are the external components. Each part of the human body working together to achieve the same goal. The goal of the whole entire human body is one, and that is the functionality of the human body, to function properly. The Muslim community functions in the same fashion. Each individual working within the Muslim community, working within his or her capacity for the same goal. And that is the advancement of our religion and subsequently the advancement of our souls. Because the more and more our religion spreads, the more and more we have room to develop spiritually, socially. That is what we reap as a result of the spread of Islam. We step into environments, when you move into a neighborhood and you see other Muslims already in that neighborhood, there's a level of comfort that comes to you when you see that. You walk into a school, as many of our youth can testify to, that you go into a school and you see a girl with hijab, or you see another guy that comes from a Muslim family, you can relax a little bit because now you feel comfortable being Muslim. That is the goal, the functionality of the Muslim Ummah as a whole. And this is very important in this day and time because, the environment that we live in is designed to turn slaves of Allah into slaves of material things. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ta'isa abdu dinar, ta'isa abdu dirham, ta'isa abdu khamisa, in u'tiya radiya, wa in muni'a sakhita. Aw kama qala Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Ta'isa abdu dinar, humiliation upon the worshipper of the dinar, not the worshipper of Allah, not Abdullah, Abdul Dinar. How do we go from being Abdullah, servant of God, to Abdul Dinar, to the servant of the dirham, servant of the dollar? And then he went forward to say Abdul Khamisa, the worshiper of the silk garment, the shirt. If he is given, he is happy, he is content. And if he is denied, then he is upset. This is what this dunya, this world is designed to do, to take us from being Abdullah to Abdul Dollar, or Dulal. So it's very important for us to make sure that we don't fall into that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He alludes to this multifaceted dynamic of the Muslim community in the Qur'an, where He says, وَمَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لِيُنْفِرُوا كَافَّةً, that it is not befitting for the Muslims, for the believers, to all go out and fight together at once. He said, فَلَوْلَا نَفَرَ مِنْ كُلِّ فِرْقَةٍ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ لِيُنْذِرُوا قَوْمَهُمْ إِذَا رَجَعُوا إِلَيْهِمْ لَعَلَّهُم يَحْذَرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that it is not befitting for the believers to go all out together and fight at one time. He said, but if a party, a group, a small group from amongst them stays behind, لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ, to get an understanding of the religion, multifaceted. Everybody is not going to go fight. Every part of your body doesn't function the same. But the goal, the end goal of the body is the same. The functionality is different. The Muslim Ummah, we have doctors, and this is what is unfortunate in our time, is that those who, aspire, to achieve greater heights, whether in the socio-economic field, religious, or whatever have you, we all use our positions and the capacities in which we work as a means to look down on the person that is not doing what you're doing. So you'll have a doctor who comes to the mess, or you're just the imam. How do you belittle what I'm doing, as if somehow what I'm doing is less important than what you're doing? As Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, one of his contemporaries, wrote him a letter and told him to stay away from people. You spend too much time around people. Be a zuhud, be a zahid, be an ascetic, and separate yourself from the people and use your knowledge to get closer to God. And Imam Malik wrote the man a letter back, and he said that from amongst people are those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fatahallahu lahu bab al-sadaqah. There are some people who Allah has opened for him the door to give a lot of sadaqah. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ فَتَحَ اللَّهُ لَهُ بَابَ الصَّلَاةِ. And there's some people who Allah has made it very easy for them to make a lot of salah. They get up at night. Everybody can't do that, but there's some people who can do that. He said, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ فَتَحَ اللَّهُ لَهُ بَابَ الْجِهَادِ. And there's some people who Allah has opened the door for them to go fight in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ فَتَحَ اللَّهُ لَهُ بَابَ طَلَبِ الْعِلْمِ. وأنا ممن فتح الله لي باب طلب العلم وأنا رضيت بما فتح الله لي ولا أظن ما أنا فيه دون ما أنت فيه نحن في الأجر سواء. He said there's some people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it easy for them to seek knowledge of the religion. And I am from amongst those who Allah has made it easy for me to seek knowledge of the religion. And I don't think that what I am doing is any less important than what you are doing. نَحْنُ فِي الْأَجْرِ سَوَاء. We will both be rewarded accordingly. How do we begin looking down on one another? Oh, this guy, he's poor, he just sits in the masjid all day and memorizes Qur'an. Yeah, but there's going to come a time when you are going to need to know something from him. From that book that he is memorizing. As the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَرْفَعْ بِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ وَيَضْعَ بِهِ آخَرِينَ. That Allah will raise with this book some people, and others He's going to humiliate with this book. Those who neglect it, those who feel like it's only important when it's important. As Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, the leader of the Muslims during that time, grew up in riches and opulence. He needed to go make Hajj, and he was going to take his sons to go make Hajj. And I'm sure this narration is going to resonate with some of you. We go year after year after year, things are really not that important. I'm working, I'm functioning in my world, and things that are important to me. And the Qur'an is just like not that important, not that serious in my day-to-day life until it's important. So Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, he wanted to take his sons to go make Hajj, but he didn't know the rights of Hajj. Here you are, leader of the Muslims, managing, the Muslim world within your capacity, yet you fail to neglect the fifth pillar of Islam, which is Hajj. The reward for which is to have every single sin that you have ever committed erased. And he wants to take his sons. I mean, like as a man, you want to be able to take your family to make Hajj and Umrah. So you want to look like the guy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you in position to be. Qawwam. You are the protector and maintainer of your family. You're taking your family to make Hajj and Umrah. Yet, you don't know the rights of Hajj, unfortunately. So what do you have to do? You have to go to the masjid and sit amongst the sheikh or the imam or the student of knowledge or that memorizer of Qur'an that you look down on all year long. Because he's just in the masjid memorizing Qur'an. Very insignificant to you at that point, but very significant at this point. So what does he do? Sulaiman takes his sons to the masjid to go find the Mufti al-Hajj. He was given the nickname Mufti al-Hujjaj. He is the only one that is allowed to give fatwa, Islamic rulings regarding Hajj. And he's just some poor black slave by the name of Atta ibn Abi Rabah. So he comes to the masjid with his two sons, and Atta is praying his sunnahs in the masjid. How many times do you think Sulaiman talked to Atta? How many times do you think that he's ever even acknowledged him up until now? So he comes to the masjid with his two sons, and he has to sit and wait until Atta finishes his salah. Atta finishes and walks over to him. How can I help you? He doesn't see him as, the leader of the Muslims. The scholars during that time didn't regard people of wealth and status. They didn't really mean, when you see the Prophet ﷺ, you don't really see anybody else. When you see the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, if he's like the man in your eyes, you don't see another man, another human being on the same level as you see Muhammad ﷺ. So they didn't regard them like that. So they said, how can I help you? I want to take my son to go make Hajj, but I don't know the rights of Hajj. So he began to ask question after question after question until Atta just got tired of asking this, answering his questions, and he turned to him and gave him his back. Sulaiman told his sons, Qum, get up. And he turned to his sons and he gave them a piece of advice. He said, لا تنيا في طلب العلم. Do not belittle seeking knowledge of your religion. He said, فَإِنِّي وَاللَّهِ لَا أَنْسَى مَقَامِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْ هَذَا الْعَبْدِ الْأَسْوَدِ. He said, because I will never forget how humiliating it was to sit in front of this black slave and ask him about my religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise some people with this book, and he will humiliate others with this book. The book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers and sisters, is not something that we just read during Ramadan. Ramadan is, less than 90 days upon us at this point. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He balighna Ramadan, that He allows us to see another Ramadan. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows this Ramadan to be the Ramadan for us, by which we've finally taken advantage of the door of opportunity that He is extending to His servants every single year. Ameen. The Qur'an is not just in Ramadan, brothers and sisters. The Qur'an is what we live, is what we do. When they came to the house of Aisha and they asked her, كيف كان خلق النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم? How is the character of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم? What did she say? She said, ألا تقرؤون القرآن? Don't you read the Qur'an? كان خلقه القرآن. His character was the Qur'an, meaning his life, the Qur'an was not something that he read, it was something that he did. It became a lifestyle. When does the Qur'an become a lifestyle for us? And not something that we peek into, something that we do, when the occasion arises. And here, alhamdulillah, we have an institution that has been designed to teach our children the Qur'an. Brothers who sacrifice their time. I've come here to teach in the other facility, come to teach in the facility to find, a whole room full of students here. I mean, it's beautiful. It reminded me of Medina when you walk on into the Prophet's Masjid and you just see rows and rows and rows of white thobes and young boys just bouncing back and forth as they're memorizing the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was once one of those students. I was once one of those kids sitting in the Prophet's Masjid memorizing the Qur'an. So for me to walk into a masjid here in America and see that same scenery, it's just so surreal. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah continue to put barakah in what you brothers are doing. This is very admirable, very honorable. That you are teaching people the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're producing Hufad al-Qur'an. That is magnificent. Think about the reward that is waiting for you guys on the other side of this. Bi-idhnillah. The teacher of the Qur'an, and I don't have to go into all of the ayats and hadith and the texts about the virtue of memorizing the Qur'an. But this is the one source that we feed from. It is the one thing that keeps us united and connected. And the challenges that we are facing in today's society, today's climate of information overload, is a comprehensive understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book and practical application of it in our daily lives. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they found it inconceivable. I'm almost done. Found it inconceivable that there would exist a day where the Qur'an would not exist. The Prophet ﷺ prophesied that would come a time that Allah would remove the Qur'an from the earth. The Sahaba found that inconceivable. They say, Ya Rasulullah, how could that happen? وَأَثْبَتْنَاهُ فِي قُلُوبِنَا وَثَبَّتْنَاهُ فِي مُصَاحِفِنَا. How could the Qur'an be removed from the earth when we have written it down in books, or it's written down in books as well as it is trapped in our hearts? As Allah says in the Qur'an, بَلْ هِيَ آيَاتٌ بَيِّنَاتٌ فِي صُدُورِ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمِ. That is, ayatun, bayinat, clear verses trapped in the hearts of those people who have been given knowledge. How could the Qur'an be removed from the earth? And the Prophet ﷺ responded by saying, يُسْرَى عَلَيْهِ فِي لَيْلَةٍ فَلَا يَبْقَى فِي قَلْبِ عَبْدٍ وَلَا مُصْحَفٍ مِّنْهُ شَيْءٍ وَيُصْبِحُ النَّاسِ كَالْبَهَائِمِ ثُمَّ قَرَأَ قَوْلَهُ تَعَالَى وَإِنْ شِئْنَا لَنَذْهَبَنَّ بِالَّذِي أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ ثُمَّ لَا تَجِدَ لَكَ بِهِ عَلَيْنَا وَكِيلًا. The Prophet ﷺ said, one night would pass and there would not be left one ayat from the Qur'an in the heart of any servant or in the mushaf of any book. In any mushaf, there will be no ayat. No one would. Could you imagine whatever you have memorized of the Qur'an right now in your heart? Could you imagine waking up tomorrow and you can't even recall one ayat? He said, and when that happens, يُصْبِحُ النَّاسِ كَالْبَهَائِمِ. People will become like animals. As the human being left to his own vices is nothing more than an animal. As a matter of fact, we are the highest form of animal. But without the Qur'an, human beings become like animals, كَالْبَهَائِمِ, not knowing if they're coming or going. The Qur'an is what keeps our universe balanced. And so, in ending, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he also alluded to the fact that there will come a time where the only thing that will be left of the Qur'an is the words. He said, يُوشِكُ أَن يَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٌ لَا يَبْقَى مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ إِلَّا اسْمُهُ وَلَا يَبْقَى مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ إِلَّا رَسْمُهُ. That perhaps there will come a time upon people where the only thing that will be left of Islam is the name, a Muslim. That's it. You don't pray, you don't fast, you don't regard halal, what is halal, you don't regard what is haram, haram. I'm Muslim. That's it. That's all you are is Muslim. That's it. Nothing else. That's it. Just Muslim. In name. لا يبقى من الإسلام إلا اسمه. The only thing left of Islam is the name. ولا يبقى من القرآن إلا رسمه. And the only thing that is left of the Quran is the writing of the words. Meaning people don't read it, people don't ponder over it, don't reflect on it, and definitely don't act on it. Just something for us to keep in mind. So when you have an institution like this that is opening, where they're teaching people the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is something that is very honorable, admirable, and it's something that we should want to be a part of, even though it may not suit your fancy. I may not be a memorizer of the Qur'an. That's not necessarily my thing. I know enough to recite the Qur'an when I'm making salah. I know enough to, open up the Mus'haf and read on Jumu'ah and the days that I'm, my daily portion of the Qur'an, but I'm not a memorizer of the Qur'an. No one is saying that you have to be a memorizer of the Qur'an. As we said, the multifaceted dynamic in our ummah is necessary. However, we want to be a part of anyone that is teaching people how to read the Qur'an. And here you have, in this environment, in this location, in this locality, you have a group of brothers and sisters. We can't forget about them, because the brothers that are teaching the Qur'an wouldn't be able to teach the Qur'an if it wasn't for their wives at home taking care of the children and making sure that those homes are, palatable. Those homes are, they're comfortable for them. So when they return home, that they get the energy that they need from those homes to go back out and teach the Qur'an. Oftentimes, students ask, well, why weren't there any female prophets? Without the male prophets, without the females, there would be no male prophets. There would be no Isa if it wasn't for Maryam. Right? There would the mother of Musa. You look at his entire life. His entire life was comforted by Allah placing women in his path, right? His mother threw him into the river. His sister, Maryam, followed the basket down the river to find out where it went. And she was the one who ran back and told the mother. And then the mother went, and of course, who saved his life? Asiya, another woman, right? Just all throughout his entire course, women that Allah put there to ensure that he reached the point where he was Musa, the messenger of Allah that we know him to be, alayhi salam. And then we had the audacity to say, why weren't there any women prophets? Was there a need? Was there a need for a woman prophet? We got male prophets who had women behind them that would not have existed had it not been for the women that were behind them. So the point that I'm making is that we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve this facility, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala place barakah in this facility, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala place barakah in those who are involved in the expansion and the development of this facility, as well as the children that are being produced, the Hufaz of Qur'an that are being produced in this facility. So with that being said, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we all came here tonight for one reason. You didn't come here to hear me, Mufti Niyaz, or any of the other speakers, with all due respect. And that's okay. But one thing we did come here tonight to do is to raise funds to help this facility. Did we not? Was there anyone that was misinformed? Was there anyone that said, well, I didn't know it was a fundraiser tonight? No, we all came here to raise funds. Our target for tonight is $40,000, which is a very moderate number. I would have said more. He said 40. I said, okay, 40. I really think that we can do much more than that. So with that being said, bi'idhnillah, we have people that are going to be walking around to collect if you have cash. But we would like to ask if there is anyone here now that can write a check for $10,000. Is there anyone here right now to help support this facility, producing people, producing children who are memorizing the Qur'an, invest in this endeavor, bi'idhnillah, so that you will see it Yawm al-Qiyamah. Anyone can write a check for $10,000. Let's go down a notch. Maybe I started too high. How about $5,000? Anyone for $5,000? I'm going to stand up. Is there anyone that can write a check right now for $5,000 to help this facility, to help grow this facility? Stop holding on to your money. Right now, you're telling yourself, I only have $5,000. Or if I write this check right now, I'm going to be missing $5,000 from the zeros that I already have in my bank account. That fear that you are experiencing right now is from none other than Shaitan. ذَلِكُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ يُخَوِّفُ أَوْلِيَاءَهُ. That is Shaitan who tries to instill fear in the awliya of Allah, in the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Stop letting Shaitan whisper to you right now. Is there anyone who can write a check for $1,000? One, Allahu Akbar. Two, three. I should have started there. Three, anyone else? $1,000. Four, in the back. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala place barakah in your wealth. Say Ameen. Allah may respond. It's raining outside. We're gathered in the house of Allah. I mean, what more could we ask for? The angels are here listening. The angels are here covering us with their wings. As the Prophet ﷺ said, no group of people gather in the house from the houses of Allah to remember the book of Allah except the sakina, tranquility descends upon them. And the angels cover them with their wings. And Allah brags about them to the other angels. Is there anyone that can write a check for $1,000 here tonight? And there are more than 40 people here. There are way more. I think it's about at least 120 people here, roughly. Maybe 100. So we could bypass all of this because I personally don't like the whole fundraising bit. The Prophet ﷺ used to say, whoever does this, then for him is Jannah. And you would have one Sahabi that says, I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. When the camel, when they were deciding where they were going to build the Prophet's masjid, right? We all know the story. But one of the pieces of that story we forgot was that when the camel was walking, the Prophet said, leave her. She's being guided by a higher power. And when the camel settled in a place, that was the place they decided they were going to build the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ didn't have any money. Many of the Sahaba didn't have any money. And that plot of land belonged to two orphans. The orphans offered to give it to the Prophet ﷺ for free. The Prophet said, no, not accepting no handouts. Orphans in our religion are given a high status. Name your price. And the Prophet turned to the Sahaba, who will take care of that. Abu Bakr said, I got it. Don't worry about it. Name your price. I got it. It's taken care of. Anyone else? For $1,000. 500. Is there anyone that can write a check? Allahu Akbar. 1, 2. Sister in the back with the orange hijab on. Jazakumullahu khairan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala place barakah in your wealth and in your health. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it a tawassul for you. Don't you know that you can make tawassul with the money that you give? You can give money tonight, and then you can go home tonight, and you can get up at the middle of the night, and you can say, oh Allah, if I gave that $500 tonight for your sake, give me this. Bless me with this. Open this door for me. You can use it as what's called tawassul. It's not a loss. The Prophet ﷺ says, sadaqah does not subtract from your wealth. It's not a loss. Stop holding on to it. Anyone else for $500 can write a check? Can we have 10 people to raise their hand for $100? Do we have 10 people who can give $100 right now? Allahu Akbar. 1. 10 people. 2. I'm not going to stop counting. I need 10. 3. 4. 5. Allahu Akbar. 6. They have the swipe as well. If you want to use your card to swipe, you can swipe. 7. Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum. I want to talk about a little bit about the financials of the organization. So this organization generally has been very self-sufficient through tuition and just a self-sustaining model to pay for collections for tuition fees, as alhamdulillah sustained the organization for a number of years. We've only had one official fundraiser 3 years ago for the last facility. So this is the second time we're actually actively asking the community to help. just to let everyone know, this facility, it costs this organization $20,000 just to renovate, just the carpet that you're sitting on, the paint on the walls, $20,000. And also to sustain this facility per month costs $5,000 just for the lease alone. On top of that is all the additional expenses. So alhamdulillah, we've been very cognizant of the budget of sustaining this organization, but we do occasionally would need help with the community to just at least get the capital expenditures covered, inshallah. So I believe $20,000, alhamdulillah, there are people that we basically got the money, and it's already been spent, and it's been loaned to this organization, and we're hoping that the community really can step up and help us with those expenditures. I'm not sure how much we've raised so far. Do we have a count so far? No, no one's counting? Okay, but I believe that we're blessed in at least the bare minimum of the 20,000. So if you haven't raised your hand to commit to something, please, we would really appreciate your help. I promise this would be the last time we would be asking for finances while we're in this facility, at least inshallah. So again, I just want to let everyone know the reality of running these organizations, and we of course would like to burden least the amount of the community members, but inshallah we plan on a lot of different types of activities, Ramadan, Taraweeh, a lot of different programs. Inshallah, you will get rewarded for all the barakah that happens inshallah in this facility.
And keep in mind, you don't have to raise your hand. Some people like to be discreet. You don't have to raise your hand. We kind of do this sometimes, we kind of put people on the spot, and some people are not comfortable, as we all know the hadith that the right hand should give so secretly that the left hand doesn't know that you have given it. So to be discreet and to be secretive about your sadaqah, this is that good deed that is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you decide that you would like to donate, but you don't really want to raise your hand and you don't want to get involved with the whole commercialization of the fundraiser, then by all means, keep it secretive between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most important thing is to donate. The most important thing is to see this facility become what it has the potential to become by your help, by your assistance. And with each and every dollar that you give, not even just with money, I'm sure that they're going to need more assistance with expanding the community, with expanding the building and building the building. I'm sure this is not the final product. So whatever, expertise that you can offer, long-term, assistance, maybe once a month, giving something. Not just giving now $100 now, maybe you can give $100 a month. For those that are online, do you guys have a link or something that people online that they would like to donate? You can go to Iqra Institute. For those of you online that are listening online, you can go to Iqra Institute, all right, their website, and you can donate online, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. For those of you at home, we're sitting at home on a Saturday night right now listening, you have an opportunity to get in on this from the comfort of your own living room. You can go to their website right now, Iqra Institute, and you can click on the donate button there, or whatever link they have there posted, and you can donate from the comfort of your own living room. Bi'idhnillah. Anyone else would like to donate? We have people walking around with the donation buckets, inshallah. I'm going to try something, and this is just a test of your faith. I want to test your faith. How many of you in here believe when Allah said that if you give him a loan, he will multiply it and give it back to you many times over? Everybody believes that, right? I don't think there's a soul in here who doesn't believe that. Allah says, who will give to Allah a good loan? يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. Who will give to Allah a good loan? فَيُضَاعِفْهُ لَهُ أَضْعَافٍ كَثِيرًا. And he will multiply it many times over. Many people believe that. We believe that. That if I give, Allah is going to give it back. If you believe that right now, stick your hand in your pocket. Every dollar that you have in your pocket right now, put it in the sadaqah box. If you believe that Allah is going to give it back to you. If you don't believe He's going to give it back to you, then just hold on to it. But if you believe that He's going to give it back to you, then spend like you believe He's going to give it back to you. What are we afraid of? It's not a loss. It's a sacrifice. And Allah says in the Qur'an, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ, that you will never attain righteousness until you give what you love. There has to be a sacrifice. Sacrifice is the ultimate proof of love. Love is just a word until somebody comes along and gives it a meaning. You can say, I love Allah, I love His Messenger, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I love Islam, but what have you done? What sacrifices have you made to prove that? Sacrifice is the ultimate proof of love. Your spouse, husband, you can tell your wife, I love you. But what sacrifices have you made to prove that you really love? Because sacrifice is the ultimate proof of love, that love actually exists. Ibrahim alayhi salam had to sacrifice his son to prove to Allah that he loved him more. Sacrifice is the ultimate proof of love. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue with the fundraising, bi'idhnillah. They're walking around with the buckets. If you guys still would like to donate, bi'idhnillah, please do so before you leave. Please be generous, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was generous to you. Jazakumullahu khairan for your time, for your sacrifice, for taking time out of your life to come here tonight. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows each and every one of us to return home to our families safely. Bi'idhnillah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Imam Shadid. Again, the website is iqrainstitute.org. Again, iqrainstitute.org, and there's a donate button on the top of the page where you can donate via credit card or PayPal, inshallah. So we're going to, inshallah, move to dinner, inshallah. In the back,